Hey guys, I had so much fun hanging out with you the other day doing a reading vlog. If you haven't seen that reading vlog, I will link it somewhere up top. So I thought I'd give another reading vlog a go. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jessica. I enjoy vlogging bits and pieces of my life, and I also like highlighting some of my hobbies, which includes reading. Right now, I'm currently reading the book Fearless by Lauren Roberts, and I thought it would be fun to take my book with me wherever I go, try to sneak in some reading, and share my thoughts at the very end of this vlog. So, hopefully, you guys enjoy, and if this is something that you guys like watching, if you're enjoying my reading content, feel free to drop me a book suggestion in the comments down below of what I should read next. But, anyways, I'm going to stop talking, I'm going to finish getting ready, and I'm going to get into some reading. We have iconic children. Perfect, thank you.
The next day.
Who gets sick in the middle of summer? Me apparently. So I'm all nice and congested, and I need to run errands. My baby girl is starting school on Monday, and she needs one more pair of shoes. So we're gonna be running errands, and I figured I'd take you guys with me. So let's hang out and run some errands together.
These are on sale.
No, those ones stink.
They do not.
Those are no.
I think worse than the chicken.
Please, Mom.
No.
Ice cream? Oh, we don't have ice cream.
I wonder who just ate the whole box of Klondike bars.
I forgot, okay.
Okay guys, so I figured we'd do a Fearless wrap-up, being that I completed this book. You guys, I enjoyed this series as a whole, but this particular book was probably my least favorite, but it was still a good read. I know that sounds horrible, but it was a great read, but it was probably my least favorite out of the entire Powerless series. If I had to rate the books in order, it would probably be Powerless first, then Powerful, then Reckless, then Fearless. Overall, I think it's amazing to see Lauren Roberts in general just progressing as an author. She did write Powerless when she was around 16 years old, which is amazing. She did an amazing, phenomenal job. I can't believe that this was written by a 16-year-old. Like, she killed it with Powerless. But overall, it's pretty cool to see her progress as an author. I did make a pros and cons list, so let's start off with those pros, the things that I loved about this book. We have a happily ever after. I'm not going to tell you who's happily ever after because I'm not going to spoil it, but we do have a happily ever after. I love the fact that we get to see some side characters that were mentioned throughout the series, but my favorite one that was brought back was Mac. I'm so excited that we got to see a little bit of Mac. I love the fact that we have some action scenes. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that Pei had to go through trials again, but overall, I feel like Lauren Roberts does a great job at describing action-packed scenes where I can envision them and they're not too complex, if that makes sense. She has a way with describing her action-packed scenes. Now, in general, I am here for the vibes. I am here for the vibes. This was my very first romantasy series that I've ever read. It will hold a special place in my heart. I love it. I love the fact that they're YA. I love that they're low spice. Now, these 3 books are definitely like a low, no spice. There's plenty of tension, plenty of banter. This one here is less banter, which is on one of my cons. The fact that we have less banter in this book, but we do have one fade to black scene in here, just throwing it out there just in case you were interested in knowing. We do have one fade to black scene in Fearless. But overall, I'm here for the vibes. It's not a highly intellectual read or anything like that. But yeah, cons. Let's jump into this long list of cons. I feel like I've already mentioned a little bit, but there was a lack of banter in this book. Yes, the characters have professed their love to each other already to a certain point, or at least the reader knows that yes, they do like each other, but I felt like even though they like each other, there could have been more banter. I felt like the love triangle in Fearless was forced. I felt like it made sense in Powerless and a little bit in Reckless, but by Fearless, it just felt forced. And I do understand by the ending why it felt forced, but I enjoy a good love triangle, and the fact that it felt forced throughout the entire book, it's a con. It's a con for me. I just didn't care for it. If I read the word pretend one more time, I was gonna rip out my hair. The word pretend was heavily used in Reckless, which it made sense, but I feel like it didn't need to trickle to Fearless. It could have been left in Reckless. They could have come up with a new word to use or something, but the fact that it made its way to Fearless, it was a little annoying at times, but not to the point where it stopped me from reading the book. I was still going to read this book regardless, but the word pretend drove me a little nuts. So Pei has a little bit of PTSD, and she has moments where she has panic attacks. I feel like the description of her panic attacks were almost too repetitive. I feel like there should have been other ways to describe her experiencing a panic attack without them sounding the same exact way every time. Just my personal opinion. The first half of this book I think was intended to sound very poetic, but it didn't roll off the tongue very well and it didn't sound natural. There was another book that I read. It's called The 7-Year Slip. Completely different genre, completely different author. That book, without sounding forced, it just sounded so natural. I don't know what it was. I think I need to reread that book. That book was so cute, so warm, but every line felt poetic in some sort of way or manner, and it was just very natural. I feel like the first half of this book was meant to be like that, but it didn't sound too natural. Now, it didn't stop me from reading the book. I still read it, but I felt like I was getting stuck on the flow of some of the verbiage, if that makes sense. Now, the second half of the book, it's almost like Lauren Roberts was in 2 different mind spaces in the first half of the book versus the second half of the book. Just the flow of the book in general flowed way better in the second half of the book, in my personal opinion. But anywho, as mentioned, I love this series as a whole. Even though this wasn't necessarily my favorite book out of the entire series, I would still highly recommend you reading the Powerless series, especially if you are new to the genre fantasy, romantasy. Kind of has a dystopian feel to it as well. I think what has turned me off about fantasies in the past to where I didn't give it a real shot was the lingo and world building. I feel like sometimes the lingo is specific to the world that you're reading in, and it's like you're supposed to understand, but you don't, at least for me. And then sometimes the world building is so intricate and detailed to where it takes away from the storyline, in my personal opinion, to where it's very, very easy to understand, very easy to read. Again, it's not a highly intellectual series. No, it's a great vibey series. I'm here for the vibes, and I'm very happy that I got to meet Pei, Kai, Adina, Mac. There's some other side characters that were decent, but those ones were the main ones that I was really excited about reading about in this entire series. So definitely give this series a go if you have been thinking about reading romanticities. But anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading vlog. It was so much fun to create, and I can't wait to see you in my next one. Bye guys!